You think she left because you weren't good looking enough? Number she left because you were too predictable. You texted on time. You were always available. You replied right away. You did everything right. And slowly you became a man she no longer needed to wonder about. And when wonder fades, so does attraction. According to research from Stanford University, dopamine, the chemical that drives excitement and emotional memory, isn't released when the reward is handed to you easily. It's triggered by uncertainty, by not knowing what's coming next. That's why unpredictability becomes addictive. The problem isn't that you weren't enough. It's that you gave too much, too fast, too freely. A Stoic man doesn't pretend to be cold. He simply doesn't live to please. He keeps a part of himself untold, a part he doesn't explain. And that part makes him irreplaceable. If you've ever been left and didn't know why, this is why. Like this video, if you've ever fallen into the trap of being too predictable, comment, "I'm keeping the part untold" to mark the shift. And subscribe if you want to be the kind of man who doesn't chase, but gets followed. You don't need to do more. You just need to do it at the right time. With a presence that can't be replaced. Predictability, the death of attraction. Why is it that you do everything right, yet still end up left behind? You're kind. You're attentive. You show up every time she needs you, and then she disappears. Her replies get slower. Her attention fades. Her eyes drift elsewhere. You think she changed? Number. She just realized you're too predictable. You text on time. You reply instantly. You always reach out. You're always there. She knows exactly how you'll respond. And when there's nothing left to discover, there's no reason to stay. A 2006 study from Stanford University revealed this. Dopamine, the chemical of desire, doesn't spike when rewards are guaranteed. It peaks when we don't know if we'll get the reward. That's not a theory. That's biology. She gets hooked only when she can't predict you. And here's the truth you need to swallow whole. If you're always available, you stop being attractive. If you're predictable, you're replaceable. Ask yourself, are you living to please? Are you quick to reply to every message? Do you share too much too soon, holding nothing back? If yes, you don't need more advice. You need to stop. A Stoic man doesn't speak to be understood. He doesn't show up so someone can know him completely. He is the mountain, not to be admired, but to be felt. Attraction doesn't come from effort. It comes from the energy you hold back, yet still draws others in. You don't need to play mind games. You just need to be busy enough not to always show up, calm enough not to react, mysterious enough that your silence makes her wonder. Because when she wonders, dopamine returns, feelings return, and attraction revives. But here's the catch. She'll never tell you this. Because women rarely leave for one clear reason. They leave because of a fading feeling, subtle, silent, and slow. In part 2, you'll learn what that feeling is and how to stop it before it ever begins. 2, women don't leave because of a clear reason. They leave because they feel, nothing. You think she left because you did something wrong? Number, she left because you stopped making her feel anything. And that is more dangerous than any mistake. Attraction doesn't die in arguments. It dies in silence. In the sense of, he's always there. He'll text back, I know. I already know what he's going to say. It fades when you become predictable, safe, forgettable, not bad enough to push away, not strong enough to pull her closer. Women don't leave because you were wrong. They leave when you become emotionally invisible. You did everything right. And yet somehow she slipped through your fingers like smoke. A 2020 Harvard study puts it clearly. The human brain doesn't remember consistency. It remembers emotional spikes, moments that surprise, stir, or break the pattern. When you stop creating that surprise, you stop existing in her nervous system. And the worst part? She can't even explain it because it didn't happen all at once. It was a slow fade, 100 forgettable moments stacked on top of each other. You didn't lose her overnight. You lost her Each time she felt nothing new. You were once the spark. Now you're just the background, and no one stays for the background. A Stoic man doesn't beg to stay in anyone's life. He becomes the kind of man whose absence is felt more than his words. No games, no over-explaining. Just a life full enough not to be too available. And when you're no longer predictable, when your silence has weight, when your presence has depth, then, and only then, you stop being forgettable. So how do you create that without becoming cold? How do you stay real, but still unpredictable? All of that is waiting in part 3. Attraction through controlled uncertainty. 3. True attraction comes from controlled uncertainty. You don't need to be handsome. You don't need to be smooth with words. You just need to be unpredictable. Attraction is born in the space of, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he likes me. I'm not sure if he'll text back. I'm not sure if I figured him out. That uncertainty, it makes her heart beat faster. It keeps her mind looping. And in the brain, unanswered questions trigger dopamine. She starts thinking about you again and again. According to a 2011 study in the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology, when someone isn't sure if the other person likes them, they tend to think about them more often. Uncertainty fuels attention. Attention fuels attraction. But here's the part most men miss. Not all unpredictability is attractive. If you ghost her, disappear without reason, ignore her just to increase your value, she won't be drawn in. She'll see chaos. And women aren't attracted to chaos. They're attracted to depth with discipline. Real attraction comes from controlled uncertainty. You don't need to vanish. You need to choose when to be silent. You don't need to be mysterious. You need to choose what to keep sacred. A Stoic man doesn't create mystery through manipulation. He creates it through independence. He lives in a way that makes him hard to predict, because he doesn't owe anyone a script. And here's the twist. You don't need to say a word to create this. You just need to not always be online, not always reply instantly, not tell her everything about yourself, and most of all, have a mission bigger than her. She'll start to feel you're someone she hasn't fully figured out. And what we don't fully understand, we keep coming back to. Attraction doesn't come from chasing. It comes from knowing when not to show up. The better your silence, the louder your absence speaks. You're not cold. You're deep. You don't hide your emotions. You just don't hand them out cheaply. So if you're out there trying to be a good guy, pause, because the next part will show you. Women aren't drawn to kindness alone. They're drawn to depth they've never seen before. 4. She doesn't want a nice guy. She wants a man with depth. If being the nice guy really worked, then why do women keep walking away from the men who treat them well? You open doors, you listen, you text on time, you're gentle, polite, you do everything right, and still, she leaves. Why? Because you're kind, but you lack depth. The nice man is safe, understandable, predictable. He asks, "Are you okay?" He says, "I'll always be here if you need me." He means well, but he's easy to forget. Now the man with depth, he doesn't rush to explain himself. He doesn't seek approval. He doesn't ask for space, because he already owns his. Women don't crave comfort. They crave the mystery hidden within stability. They crave calm energy. That still feels out of reach. You didn't lose her because you were bad. You lost her because there was nothing left to discover. Psychoanalyst Jacques Lacan once said, "Desire is always for what we do not have. We don't long for what we fully possess. We long for what remains just out of reach." You gave her everything too soon, and when the mystery died, the emotion followed. She doesn't want to know all of you. She wants a part of you she can never fully grasp. A Stoic man doesn't live to please. He lives for something far beyond validation. Purpose, focus, silence that means something, presence that carries weight. He's not cold, he's full inside. If she can read you like a manual on the first date, you're not a man, you're an instruction sheet. But how do you keep that mystery alive without pretending? No ghosting, no games, no disappearing like a boy. The answer is in part 5, How to stay mysterious without faking a thing. 5. How to stay mysterious without pretending. The more you try to look mysterious, the faster she sees through the act. But if you truly have depth, you don't need to try at all. No ghosting, no childish disappearing acts, no cold silence just to trigger a reaction. Real mystery comes from a man who doesn't need to be fully understood. A 2021 study from the University of Illinois found, when someone doesn't express emotions clearly, curiosity and emotional investment from the other person significantly increase. Not fully known is worth staying around for. But here's the catch. You must control it, because being unpredictable isn't the same as being unpleasant. If you go cold, vanish, ignore, she won't chase, she'll shut off. What you need is controlled unpredictability. And this is how. 1. Be silent at the right moment, not to manipulate. She texts, "I'm feeling a little off today." Don't rush in. "What's wrong?" "I'm here for you." But also don't see and vanish. Instead just, "I'm in a meeting. Let's talk tonight." Short, clear, present, but not desperate. 2. Always hold back 30%. You don't need to spill everything on the first call. You don't need to always be available. You're not Google. You're a man with layers to be explored over time. 3. Let your absence become space, not emptiness. When you pull back, don't leave behind a void. Leave a line, a glance, a word she replays in her mind. You don't need to say much to be remembered. You just need meaning every time you show up. A Stoic man isn't the quietest one in the room. He's the one whose silence carries weight. You don't need to fake coldness. You need to be deep enough that no one can read you too quickly. And that's what keeps them coming back. But here comes the hard part. How do you sustain this energy day after day without acting, without burning out? 6. The science behind this is real. You think being mysterious is just a game? In truth, it's biology. The human brain doesn't react to certainty. It reacts to the unknown, to uncertainty, to the things it can't quite predict. A 2006 study from Stanford University found dopamine, the chemical of desire and emotional response, doesn't spike when you're sure of the reward. It spikes when you're not. When she's unsure if you'll reply, when she doesn't know what you think, how you feel. Her brain lights up, dopamine flows, and suddenly she starts associating emotion with you. Not because you did something special, but because you weren't predictable. She's not addicted to you. She's addicted to the feeling of having to figure you out. Another study from the Journal of Psychological Science, 2011, confirmed women spend significantly more time thinking about men they're unsure like them than men they're sure do. Translation? Uncertainty equals emotional attraction. But don't get it twisted. This isn't about ghosting, not about playing games, and definitely not about being cold. Here's what it looks like. She texts you, "I feel kinda down today." Now you have two options. Call immediately, ask 100 questions, try to fix her mood, or say simply, "I get it. Let's meet tonight. We'll talk then." You're not being indifferent. You're present, but not overbearing. In that space, it makes her pause, think, feel. Mystery isn't disappearing. Mystery is holding back the part she's never seen. You don't need to fake anything. You just don't hand everything over too soon. When you learn to give, hold, pull back, step forward on your own terms, you don't just become attractive. You become an emotional experience, and emotions can't be replaced. Bottom line, science is clear. Attraction isn't about looks or money. It's about unpredictability. Without chaos, it's about controlled uncertainty, the art of keeping the emotional fire alive. But here's the big question. How do you stay unpredictable without pretending? How do you avoid becoming cold or robotic? Part 7 will show you how to be mysterious without faking it. 7. How to be unpredictable without pretending. If she always knows what you're going to do next, you're no longer attractive. You're a formula, Many men try to seem mysterious by going silent, ghosting, acting indifferent. They think they're being cool. They think they're raising their value. But in truth, they're just acting. And women always know when you're acting. You don't need to be unpredictable. You just need to stop reacting like every other guy. Real attraction comes from inner strength, from a calm center, when she pulls away, when she tests you, when she disappears for a day or two. Here are 3 principles to become truly unpredictable without putting on a show. 1. Live by your axis, not her reactions. Ever spent the whole day waiting for her to seen your message? Ever typed a text, then deleted it 3 times because it felt like too much? That's not living. That's being emotionally outsourced. A Stoic man doesn't ask, "What does she think of me?" He asks, "Am I still on my path?" 2nd, hold back 20%. Don't put everything on display. If you share everything too soon, if you overexpress, overexplain, overgive, you become an open book, and books that are fully read get placed back on the shelf. Depth doesn't come from hiding. It comes from knowing what to hold. 3, create delay. Let emotion build closeness doesn't equal connection. Sometimes a pause creates more feeling than a reply. A real-world moment. She texts, "I thought you forgot about me." The usual move, call her, reassure her, chase. But a deeper response, didn't forget, just building something bigger than feelings. You're not cold, you're just not small. And that makes her pause. Think, feel. You're not attractive because you're trying. You're attractive because you don't have to prove anything. If she can predict exactly what you'll do when she goes silent, you're not a choice, you're a convenience. You don't need to be cold. You just need to be still enough that your presence carries weight. So now let's bring it all together. How do you blend depth, mystery, presence, and emotional leadership in one natural rhythm? 8, you weren't left because you lacked something. You were left because you gave too much, too soon, too easily. You've heard all the advice, how to stay mysterious, how to create silent attraction, how to keep her without trying to. But in the end, this is no longer about her. It's about you. You don't need to be more handsome. You don't need to be smoother with words. You don't need to perform. You need one thing, to stand firm. Everything you've learned in this series boils down to one core axis: inner stillness plus clear purpose plus silence that carries weight. A Stoic man doesn't attract because he's trying to stand out. He attracts because he stands alone. He doesn't need her to fall in love. He becomes the kind of man whose absence lingers longer than his presence. Ever caught yourself texting too much? Always available? Constantly worrying, what if she leaves? It all comes from one thing. You made her the center of your world. Starting today, you don't need to chase anyone. You just need to build your own axis, a life that's full, deep, real. Men aren't attractive because of what they say. They're attractive because their presence carries a depth no one else has reached. Real attraction doesn't come from tactics. It comes from the energy you give off, when you don't need to prove anything. And that can't be faked. You don't act like it. You become it. Don't be the nice guy in her eyes. Be the man she can't forget, even when you're no longer around. If you're still watching, it means you're done being predictable. You're done being easily understood, easily replaced. You want presence with depth. You want to be the man who doesn't chase, but is followed. So hit like. Let YouTube know this is the kind of content you want more of. Comment, "I don't rush, I carry weight," and subscribe. Because what's coming next will help you build a life so grounded it can't be shaken. Not made for the harmless nice guy, built for the calm man who cannot be replaced. You don't need to be loved right now. You need to be remembered long after you're gone.